of mine, standing in Iran, making my tawaf, drinking blessings from your well. The challenge of Safa and Marwa rekindles my mind. Oh, Allah, I've been waiting for the call. I pray for the day when I can be near the Kaaba walls. Oh, Allah, I've been waiting for the call. Pray for the day when I can be near the Kaaba walls. I feel alive and I feel strong. I can feel Islam running.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده سيدنا ومولانا وشفيعنا وسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن أول بيت وضع للناس للذي ببكة مباركا وهدى للعالمين فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم ومن دخله كان آمنا ولله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا ومن كفر فإن الله غني عن العالمين. Good afternoon, listeners all over the world. I remain your brother in Islam, Imam Abdurrahman Olajide Oyediran, on 93.7 Citizen FM, Abuja, on our program, Guest of Allah. This afternoon, we have a very special guest with us to discuss in relation with what we have been discussing for the past few days about Hajj 2023. With us is our father in Islam, Al-Hajj Abdullah Magaji Hardawa. He is the commissioner in charge of operations and inspectorate and licensing, National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
With us also, as usual, is my dear brother, my friend, our Imam, Dr. Murtado Shuaib Babamali. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm my dear big brother, the initiator of this program, in person of Al-Hajj Abdul Fattah Abdul Salam. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Our father is here. With respect to a very brief discussion I had with him before the commencement of this afternoon's program, it made me to understand that when it comes to spiritual aspect of Hajj, Dr. Babamale is here. He's only going to discuss what concerns Hajj Commission, and that is in tandem with his constitutional duty, and we really appreciate that. Sir, I want to believe that National Hajj Commission is shouldered with responsibility of managing Hajj, if I'm not mistaken. What is Hajj management?
Well, a'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem. Hajj Commission came into being by the instrumentality of an act of the National Assembly as far back as 2006. Before then, there were bodies responsible for organizing Hajj in Nigeria. Those at the helm of affairs of Nigeria at that time saw it necessary to create a body specifically responsible for managing Hajj affairs in Nigeria. So the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria Establishment Act provides, among other things, that the commission should be responsible for the management of Hajj and Umrah organization in Nigeria. Hajj Commission is a body situated in the city of Abuja, cannot be at all places, at all times, at the same time. And therefore, there's a limitation as to what it could do from the center. That makes it necessary to find other bodies and organizations to support it towards implementing the provisions of the Act. That is to organize the movement and transportation of people from Nigeria to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the purpose of Umrah or Hajj. So because of that, the Act provides for the issuance of licensing to corporate bodies that would help in implementing those provisions. As of now, almost all the 36 states in Nigeria, along with a large number of private tour operating companies, have operating license issued by the Commission to allow them to organize Hajj and Umrah performances from Nigeria to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Then the Commission has a responsibility, after issuing the license, to exercise oversight function on those bodies and organizations to ensure that what they do is in tandem with the provision of the Act, so much so that the interests of the pilgrims are not just protected but are also equally promoted. In other words, since they are going to pay money for certain services, so the quality and the content of the services to be rendered must be in tune with whatever amount of money they pay. That is to say, they get value for their money. We have responsibility to ensure that any Nigerian who goes out of the shores of Nigeria towards or for the purpose of performing Hajj or Umrah we have the responsibility to monitor his movement there to ensure that he is safe, hale and hearty up to the time he returns to Nigeria. That is a statutory responsibility upon the Commission. So those organizations that help us to discharge this function, we issue them with the operator license, we supervise them to ensure that they operate according to our guidelines. We issue guidelines so much so that they will be operating within the scopes of that guidelines. Now, the individual that would want to go for Hajj or Umrah, they approach those organizations or bodies, they register, they meet all the requirements set, and we collaborate to organize their movement to ensure that they are safely transported, they are safely accommodated and comfortably to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and that they do not come into conflict with any set rules or laws either here in Nigeria or in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And also to ensure that, or we take measures towards ensuring that when they go, they devote themselves to the act of ibadah and they do it thoroughly well as required by Sharia. So for that, we encourage the states or the bodies that are coordinating their movement to give them some kind of orientation program. Those who know the Hajj rights, they will be remembered. Those who did not know will have the opportunity to know. So much so that their act of ibadah would be consistent with the provision of Sharia. And therefore, when they go, they will have acceptable ibadah. At the same time, we educate them on how to conduct themselves while in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The kind of food they will patronize, the kind of clothes they would wear, the kind of medications they would require, all these are taken into consideration. So we organize workshop for them. In some states, they take several weeks organizing what they call beta training for them to expose them to all that would be required to equip them such that when they go to Saudi Arabia, they will be able to perform their ibadah in relative peace and comfort. That is our responsibility as the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. And we do this in collaboration with such organizations and bodies. We have responsibility to all Nigerians in that respect.
So at this point in time, can we find out how far you people prepared for 2023 Hajj operations?
Well, Alhamdulillah, preparation for the 2023 Hajj operation started right after 2022 Hajj exercise. Listeners would recall that 2022 Hajj exercise was marred with so many challenges, simply because basically time constraint. The Saudis tried to be careful about allowing people troop into their country because of the threat of COVID-19. Before the advent of COVID-19 into the scene globally, people were allowed to travel to Saudi Arabia for pilgrimage in multiples. But because the transmission of the disease was so rapid, it became necessary for the Saudi authorities to take measures to curtail the spread of the disease in their country. If people would be allowed to move into the country freely, either of the two could happen. Either they move into the country with the disease and infect others, others coming from outside the kingdom or those within the kingdom. Or in the other way, there is disease. The disease is also prevalent in that country. Could be contacted. When you return back to your home country, you come along with that disease and spread it in your home country. So it was a global concern, and therefore, in the best interest of humanity, the Saudis decided to cancel international pilgrimage in 2020, so also in 2021. For 2022, they were studying the situation, whether it would be safe or it would not be safe. They could not conclude their decision until when it was fairly late. We cannot blame the Saudis. Rather, we should applaud them for being courageous enough for 2 consecutive years to ban international pilgrimage. Why I said this? Because Saudis have been benefiting economically by this Hajj tourism. People going in from different countries, spending their money there, was stimulating a beehive of business activities there. Without the participation of the international pilgrims, everything became static. Even the crude oil, which they are so famous in bringing out and selling to the international community, during the COVID-19, nobody wanted it. So their economy really went down. Yet, because of concern for the safety and well-being of humanity, they took that decision. Many people didn't like it, but in reality, they took the pains to protect humanity. They deserve to be commended for that courageous decision. So they were studying the situation against 2022 Hajj. Finally, they felt that yes, they could manage certain number of people. But it was fairly late when they took that decision. They allowed less than half of the people that they used to allow. So it was too late for Nigeria to make meaningful preparation. I remember after the end of May last year, we were in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia trying to find out information, relevant information, as to whether Hajj would hold or it will not hold. If it will hold, what would be the guidelines? What were the implications financially and all this? What would be the cost of certain services and all this? Which information usually would have been made available several months earlier, some 6 months also. But up to that time, the information was not there. We went there on our own inclination. We were not invited to go there. No circulars, no information was sent to us. So we were in dilemma. So we took the decision to go there and meet them. So it was there we got all the relevant information we would require to prepare for Hajj. And when we returned in June, early June, we started moving pilgrims. So in less than 1 month, that was how we found ourselves. Yet, alhamdulillah, even though quite a number of Nigerians who had registered, were ready, were even mobilized to the airports to go for Hajj, could not go. They were disappointed.
Why?
Yes, they were disappointed because they could not go. They could not go because there were no aircraft to evacuate them. I am not at this material time blaming anybody or apportioning blame. But what we would understand, within these 2-3 weeks to prepare, we were able to move more than 97% of the allotted pilgrims to Nigeria. So we were able to leave some few behind. The airlines have a portion of the blame because, for example, some of them promised to deploy certain number of aircraft. They ended up using only one, and even one sharing with other countries. The pilgrims themselves, they would refuse to turn out after collecting the boarding pass. The aircraft would be at the tarmac 12 hours, 24 hours. There was an incident, or up to 48 hours. The aircraft was at the tarmac waiting for pilgrims to come and board. The pilgrims were not ready. There were a number of cancellation of flights. At times, the aircraft would take off with so many empty seats because the pilgrims did not come. So there were a lot of delays. Processing pilgrims, 400 pilgrims also to board an aircraft would take 12 hours, 14 hours. That's not desirable. If we had made use of all these services, we should have not left anybody behind. If you look at the number of flights we cancelled, more than 20 flights were cancelled. An aircraft would be there for 24 hours waiting for pilgrims. They are not there. Why? Because they were not ready. Either their BTA was not made available to them, or their visas did not draw, or the state officials were ineffective. There are so many reasons, but essentially, all this could be attributed to short notice, short period of planning. So that's why I say I wouldn't want to blame anybody, but the root cause of all the challenges we faced was shortage of time. We had no enough time to effectively plan the movement of the pilgrims to Saudi Arabia. That was the problem. So when we took all this into consideration, we felt the best thing is to start the preparation in good time against 2023 Hajj. So immediately after 2022 Hajj, we started discussion with major stakeholders in Hajj industry in Saudi Arabia. We visited them to register our concern, what had happened and what we expect, and all the necessity of getting early information, all this. We visited them, several organizations, to cement or strengthen our relationship with them, so much so that things would be much smoother for us. So we did all this. It was part of the preparation. When finally we got green light from Saudi Arabia with some details, even though security at the beginning, we started making preparation. What is so obvious in Hajj preparation is airlift. If you get it wrong, chances are higher most of what you would do would also be in a very difficult situation. So for a successful Hajj operation, you got to get your airlift services right. So for that, we advertised for airlines interested to partake in the exercise. Quite a number of them came forward, about 9 I think. One of them later on, 10 of them. One of them voluntarily withdrew. 2 were disqualified, and 7 were qualified. And with the support from NCAA and other aviation-related agencies, we screened them diligently, and we found them worthy or credible enough to perform the Hajj. And we got the approval of the government. And the authorities in Saudi Arabia were also equally informed on all this to conclude arrangement for them. So this is part of the preparation. And I'm happy we did a thorough job, despite some few challenges here and there.
Sir, we are going to take a break for 2 minutes. When we come back, we continue where we stopped.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
As I travel through the earth, I can't help but notice the symphony I hear all around, from the smallest grain of sand to the faraway planets, to a flower putting roots in the ground, every bird in the sky, every rock and every raindrop sings as it falls from the clouds, every ant, every plant, every breeze, and all the seas. They all سبحانك ربي سبحانك سبحانك ما أعظم شانك سبحانك ربي سبحانك سبحانك ما أعظم شانك ندعوك ونرجو غفرانك ندعوك ونرجو غفرانك يا ربي
جل الله في كل كون الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Listeners, you are welcome back on our program Guest of Allah on 93.7 Citizen FM Abuja. We are still with our special guest, our father in Islam, in person of Hajj Abdullah Magaji Hardawa. He is the commissioner in charge of operations, inspectorate and licensing, National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, who has been discussing with us for the past almost 30 minutes about the management of Hajj and challenges the organization has been facing over the years. He started discussing some possible solutions, and I want him to reiterate and expatiate more on the possible solutions to these challenges faced by National Hajj Commission with regards to Hajj management.
Well, thank you. As I was saying, the major thing about Hajj management or ensuring successful Hajj operation is getting things right with regards to flight services. I told you we started fairly early. We advertised, we were able to attract a larger number of airlines, more than we had previously. With the support of our technical partners from the various aviation-related agencies of government, we were able to do diligent and extensive technical and commercial screening, which we were able to eventually pre-qualify 7 carriers, which government approved. And getting the airlines ready is another thing. We have communicated to them, we have informed Saudi government agencies also. They are fully aware, and they have been interfacing to ensure that we have a hitch-free airlift services. And we did this in collaboration with our partners from the states. All the states, they have Pilgrims Welfare Boards, agencies. And we collaborate with them to do almost everything together, including tour operators. So much so that we would be always working on the same frequency with them. There would be less hitches. So that's the benefit of synergy and early preparation. All these were brought to play in what we are doing as of now. And we are able to conduct pre-Hajj visits to Saudi Arabia to procure services for the pilgrims, such as accommodation and catering services. All these were done with stringent measures taken or put in place to ensure that the pilgrims have a better deal. and also to be able to bring down the cost of Hajj, because it's not enough you prepare early, but at the same time we have to work towards making sure that the cost of Hajj is not so exorbitant to discourage aspiring intending pilgrims.
Thank you, sir. I know one of the challenges is over the years, the scenario of either during or after Hajj rites, when you want to start airlifting and returning pilgrims back to the country, that you begin to we are looking for Mr. A, we are looking for Mr. B. How do you intend to curtail this type of challenge when it surfaces again this year? Then secondly, do you have adequate mechanism on ground with regards to attending to whoever that has health challenge among your pilgrims in Saudi Arabia, that when they go and return will be able to NACON did well? Is it part of preparation of NACON to take care of health challenges of the pilgrims over there? And so those two things I wanted to...
Let me start with the second one. As I told, the well-being of Nigerians on Hajj or Umrah is responsibility or is of interest to the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. We will be abdicating our responsibility if we should ignore those are their well-being. And their well-being relates to also their health status. So Hajj Commission has traditionally been organizing medical services to attend to the needs of pilgrims. Whenever you have a large gathering of people, you cannot pretend that there may not be medical emergencies. There may not be need for medical services. That is an utopian thought. So we prepare for this. Before then, we used to have proliferation of medical teams. Each state service would organize medical team with some drugs transported to Saudi Arabia, ostensibly to take care of the medical needs of their contingent. But the Saudis came up with a policy which made it necessary for Nigeria to evolve the concept of a single national medical team. And that is what we have been operating for some few years now. We screen qualified medical personnel. We send their particulars to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to vet, to allow them to go and operate medical services. In their country, they have their own medical services scheme, and therefore they have to vet who would come and practice medicine in their country. So we work with them, they accredit them. After the accreditation, we secure clinics within relatively close proximities to the residences of the pilgrims. We deploy these medical personnel with some drugs from Nigeria, and we procure others down there in Saudi Arabia, drugs and other medical consumables for the benefit of the Nigerian pilgrims. And I think it has been a tremendous support to take care of their health requirements. Where advanced medical services are required, they are referred to certain designated hospitals in line with the policy of the Saudis. So we take good care of Nigerian citizens while they are in the Holy Land. Nobody is abandoned in that respect. They all avail themselves to all the kind of medical services required. And everything is free. even those who would require surgical intervention, it will be rendered free of charge without any cost to any Nigerian pilgrim. And that's what we do.
We are opening the nights for people to interact with the National Commissioner for Operations, National Hajj Commission. So you might want to join us on 081-822-222206, 090-3222-9797. Honorable Sir, when are we flying the first pilgrims out of Nigeria?
Well, for this 2023 Hajj, we have been planning to start or to commence the airlift as from 21st of this month, May, this year.
All right.
And we have reviewed some developments in collaboration with the airlines and also the Saudi authorities who are monitoring or regulating air services there. We have now come to finally resolve that the actual airlift of Nigerian pilgrims would be as from 25th of this month. But we have a system of sending our personnel in advance to go and prepare the reception of the Nigerian contingent. So those who will be going in advance team to procure or to make sure that everything is put in place for the pilgrims to arrive will start going, would go as planned as from 21st of this month.
Inshallah.
Yes.
Inshallah. May Allah make it easy.
Inshallah.
I know that Hajj requires planning. I think I was a manager of one of the agency for some years now. I know Hajj requires planning. Because we've seen situations whereby in just few days to start here lifting, or even after perhaps Saudi Arabia has even closed their border, somebody will just come up and say, I want to go with my family, I want to go with my friends and all that, find me visa, find me, So what are the necessary plannings put in place by Hajj Commission to assist people, and how do you intend to enlighten them to make sure that their attitude is in perspection with the guideline rules?
Yes, what you have said is very true and has been the problem with us Nigerians. We detest the culture of planning or long-term planning. Fire brigade approach to issues usually don't give the required or desired results. So whatever you plan, chances are higher you would be successful. So effective planning is the first requirement for any successful operation. Hajj Commission has been pondering over this matter many years back. As a matter of fact, as far back as 2006, when the National Hajj Commission was given birth to, the Act provides for what we call Hajj Savings Scheme. It's a scheme which is so noble, so desirable, that would allow every Nigerian Muslim to continue to aspire to go for Hajj, irrespective of his economic status. We are not all the same in terms of financial capability. Some are menial laborers.
Honorable Commissioner, sir, we are taking a break to have the call to Asr prayers. Thank you, sir.
This call to prayer is sponsored by the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Miles away, oceans apart, never in my sight.
You are welcome back to the studios of Citizens FM 93.7 Abuja. You see, I've seated in the studio the National Commissioner for Operations, Nigeria Art Commission, Nigeria. You may want to join us by calling on 081-822-22206, 090-3222-9797. You are welcome back, sir.
Thank you. As I was saying, National Hajj savings scheme has been introduced, or provision has been made for it in the act establishing the commission, which would allow all Nigerians to aspire to go for Hajj, irrespective of their social and economic status. They will also help in creating culture of saving among the citizenry. People who are subsistence farmers, petty traders, can also save over a period of time to be able to make the lifetime journey to fulfill the injunction of Sharia upon them. So that will help also in giving opportunity for the managers to effectively plan. When people are coming to register, they register with the Hajj savings scheme. That will give us the opportunity well in advance to know who and who are qualified to go for Hajj in terms of financial contribution. And then you can organize such people and start giving them the orientation or the induction training on all this and the plan for their movement, secure accommodation for them and all this. Such that the air, for example, air carriers will now be in a good position to know the number of pilgrims assigned to them. They can plan which kind of aircraft to deploy for this and how many trips they are likely to make. What sort of arrangement would they make in terms of fuel and other ground services and all this, make advance payment where necessary, all this, how many slots they would require to apply for with the Saudi airports authorities and all this. So everybody will now be able to plan the services or the operation in totality. But as of now, nobody can effectively tell you, up to this very moment, we are saying that we have just some few days to start airlifting. People are still being registered. So the airlines need to be constantly updated with the number they are expected to airlift. So this really does not give room for effective planning. You need to know the number of people you are carrying and you plan for them. When you do this, it will be much easier. And this Hajj savings scheme also, in addition to give us opportunity to plan, would help in enhancing the economic status of those who enroll into the scheme. For example, as of now, under the present dispensation, when you go and deposit money with the Pilgrims Repair Board, the money is left idle in the bank. Nobody utilizes it. Nobody benefits from it, at least not the pilgrim. So under the Hajj savings scheme, the pilgrims stands to benefit because the money would be invested in viable investment opportunities acceptable to Sharia. So under that situation, there would be profit, and the profit would be shared among the stakeholders.
Oh, wonderful.
The person who deposits his money certainly will have the larger share of this profit. And when also the losses are recorded, of course, it will also be shared appropriately. But under the present arrangement we are working with the Jaiz Bank, they have created a special fund where their own share of the profit is deposited there. In the event losses are incurred, they bring out from this to cushion the effect of the losses, so much so that the ordinary pilgrim who enrolls may not even be aware losses have been recorded. So whenever there is a profit increment, the depositor becomes aware of it by way of alert into his cell phone, and he's aware, so his deposit keeps on increasing as profit is made.
We are running out of time at this moment.
Yes.
We can never complete having it at a section because at the end of operations, there are so many things that is involved. Sir, we may have to call you back sometime next week before the thing start, inshallah.
That will be a pleasure on our side, inshallah.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank him, Brother Barrister. Thanks for coming. Imam, thanks for coming again. Sir, we thank you for coming.
Thank you.
May Allah save this Hajj from every Nigerian that we go this year. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Miles away, oceans apart, never in my sight, but